All right, everybody, welcome to today's session. We have the sounds of crickets and many other insects. I don't know the names. And we'll also, you might hear, you can't really see them, but we have fireflies as well, a few fireflies. And in the distance, you might hear a few people laughing as well. How nice. So let's get comfy for today's practice. Have a sense of settling in, tuning in. I've been working on my book, and there was this chapter in which there's this analogy of walking down the beach, and the waves are coming, and but you're walking a little away from the waves, and they're coming and they're coming. And approximately, it's not exact, but approximately every seventh wave or so, it'll be a bigger wave, and it'll come all the way to your feet. So the analogy of every few waves, it's a bigger wave. It's almost like the ocean breathing. And in that chapter of the book, I've talked about how just because you have a thought doesn't mean it has to be said. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it has to be shared. So what's it like for these thoughts to come like waves? First wave came, second wave came. You wait for it to naturally spill into words. If it has to spill into words, it'll spill into words. Otherwise, just enjoy the silence. It's also called speaking to improve in the silence. In Thailand, there are these journalists. It's quite a curiosity. It's only there in Thailand, I think. It's just like you have the tabloid press in the UK and other parts of the world. Basically, they're looking for something sensational, right? Tabloid press is sensational news, what celebrities are doing and this and that. So in the same way, in Thailand, they have a kind of journalist who's looking for sensational news around monks. This monk has got special powers. This monk can predict your future. This monk can do this and can do that. So they actually have tabloid news for monks, believe it or not. It's quite a superstitious country. So people believe, oh, this monk has blessed this talisman, then you'll never get in any trouble. So one of our teachers, these tabloid journalists had come. They were asking him all these questions. Didn't say anything, just kept quiet. Finally, they got bugged and bored and they left. Later on, somebody asked him that Ajan is a Thai word for Acharya. Ajan, all these journalists came. They were asking you so many questions. You didn't answer. You hardly said anything. He said it's not a choice. It's not like I'm choosing. Sometimes someone comes and barely asks anything, and I can teach for an hour. And all of these people are coming and asking so many questions. Words were not coming out of my mouth. It's the place that they're asking from. They're looking for juicy stuff for their tabloid, you see. So the reason I'm sharing this today is, first of all, we have this beautiful background of chirping insects, and it's also been raining here, so I don't know if you can hear dripping of leaves. And the sense that to imagine that you're choosing what you speak, it's something worth investigating. Is it really true that you're choosing what you speak? Or like those waves, one wave, second wave, third wave, and one wave, the bigger wave, one thought's a so-called bigger thought. You end up speaking it. So when I first began teaching, I was quite amused how some sessions would be so powerful, and some would be, yeah, okay, and nice, fine. I was curious, what was the difference? And I realized it's not about me. It's not about me being in a better mood or me being in a better place to teach. It's a function of the entire field. So just like those tabloid monks, tabloid journalists came, and the teacher could hardly say anything. And somebody else who very sincere came, and a very deep, detailed teaching came out. So the quality of the asking determines the quality of the sharing. How earnest, how sincere are we? This is not just about receiving teachings from a person. How earnestly, how sincerely are you? How earnestly and sincerely are you asking for whatever? Love and wisdom and inspiration, healing, or whatever it is. The depth and sincerity, earnestness of that asking will determine the power and potency of the response. Sort of a law of nature. Asking doesn't have to be verbal or even mental. It's more about the heart quality. The heart quality. I love this phrase. Wahi Tagera would use the phrase Maro up. Maro up. Maro is a Japanese word for sincerity, earnestness. And he would say Maro up. Up, of course, is English. What is Maro up? Raise the quality of your heart. Raise the quality of your heart. So when people would ask him, because Wahi Takeda was a multi-billionaire, Warren Buffett of Japan. Somebody would ask him, how do we become successful like you? How do we become wealthy like you? How do we become abundant like you? And he would say, Maro up. He wouldn't talk about where to invest money, and he wouldn't talk about how to find offshore accounts so you get less tax. He'd say, Maro up. Raise the sincerity of your heart. What a unconventional advice. And yet it's true. Maro up applies not only to wealth, it applies to every single dimension. So whether you're seeking spiritual guidance, or you're seeking love in your relationships, or seeking more meaningful career, calling, you want to share your gifts with the world, Maro up. Raise the heart. Raise the vibrational frequency of your heart. How do you do it? You just do it. You have an addiction for asking how all the time. Just do it. Go deep into your heart and clean up every other vibration, every other distraction. Come back to the center. That's how you do it. And the more you Maro up, you'll find that just like those 7 waves, 7th wave, only the 7th wave of a truly meaningful thought. There may be countless subconscious thoughts, but the 7th wave, the most important one, will make itself conscious of those 7 thoughts. The most meaningful, doesn't have to be 7, but get the sense of it. Only if it's really worthwhile. For it to become words, it'll become words. And only if it's really worthwhile, meant to become action, that'll become actions. And only if it's worthwhile, meant to become a habit, it'll become a habit. And like this, habits become character. So the entire cycle is complete. From the spirit of Maro up to a character that is based on Maro up, creating a very specific frequency. I like to call it your signature frequency. Each one of us has a signature frequency. So clean up, clean up, clean up, clean up, clean up, clean up. Let your signature frequency shine bright. Maro up, Maro up, Maro up. And it's like you're in the center of the vortex. All that's needed just shows up. All the resources, all the people, all the learnings, all the experiences just shows up. Nothing has to be done. Nothing has to be done. In fact, you start rejoicing in doing less and less. The world says you're doing a lot. but your inner experience is you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. You feel you're doing nothing. And yet massive waves of transformation, inspiration are flowing in all directions. Because you feel you're doing nothing, your influence reaches eternity. As long as you feel you're doing something, anything, you're like an arrow shot in the dark. Even you don't know what happened. Even you don't know where this life got over. What was it? What was the point of this life? Even you don't know. So it's paradoxical. It's the opposite of what you expect. I feel everybody should look up the story of Hasta Malacha, the boy who was considered to be stupid and dumb and some kind of born with some kind of mental deficiency. Adi Shankara goes to this village of, it's a village of great pandits, great scholars. Everybody in this village speaks Sanskrit, and everyone's a scholar. There's one particular family, very learned pandit. He says, can you do something? My son has some impairment. He's born dumb, he can't speak. So Adi Shankara turns to him and says, so what is it? Why is it you don't speak? And in perfect verse, this boy replies, you should actually look it up. I don't want to do disservice. He says, he speaks so beautifully. Basically, he's saying that nobody here has ever asked me any decent question. Why would I speak? So basically, he was a jnani. He was a born jnani, born awakened soul. Felt no reason to, even though he's in a village of scholars who are supposed to be great learned pandits, they're all lost in bookish knowledge. I think it's not worth opening my mouth in front of these people. They're all lost in their bookish knowledge. Hasta Malacha, first of all, Hasta Malacha means, Hasta means hand or fist, hand, palm. Amalaka, the avla fruit, right? Just like the seeds of the avla fruit can be seen so clearly in the palm of your hand, Adi Shankara said, the ultimate truth is seen as clearly by him. He sees it in the palm of his hand so clearly. Like you can see the seeds of an avla fruit, all 8 segments of it. So he becomes the first disciple of, one of the first disciples of Adi Shankara, and he goes on to head an entire sect of the renunciant order of Adi Shankara. You should all look up the whole story. I'm just giving you the gist of it. Hasta Malacha. So Hasta Malacha did not speak for years. I think he was already a teenager by the time he met Adi Shankara. Everyone thought he's dumb. He was a jnani. He felt no need to talk. So if Hasta Malacha can have that level of restraint, certainly you and I can also learn the art of speaking to improve on the silence. Don't waste your words. Don't get into, especially if you're attending these kind of calls, a lot of spiritual potency is building up, whether you realize it or not. Don't waste it on internet arguments, Twitter arguments. Don't waste your energy. This is very, very subtle energy, very beautiful energy. Don't waste it like this. Don't enter a conversation that you're not willing to be changed by, or if you sense people are not willing to get changed themselves. Don't waste your breath. It's okay. Just be quiet. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Only if our speech passes these 3 tests, it's true, it's kind. How do you know it's kind? You're feeling kind. Sometimes kindness can also be a little firm. That's all right, as long as you're coming from a place of kindness. And is it even necessary? Not everything has to be said. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Speak to improve in the silence. Not every wave touches your feet. Let the ocean gather as a momentum. Once in a while, larger wave will come. Not every thought has to be expressed. Ajahn Chah had these really straightforward teachings. Somebody asked him how to practice. Just straightforward teaching. He said, talk less. Eat less. Sleep less. Practice a lot. Practice a lot. Talk less. Eat less. Sleep less. Practice a lot. Not sleep less watching Netflix. Sleep less to practice a lot. And then you'll not be sleep deprived. Nowadays, very controversial to say sleep less. But most of us are asleep all the time anyway. Asleep in our delusions. It's time to wake up. Awaken the dreamer. Wake up within the dream. Maro up. Let's complete today's session by bringing our energy, our attention to our heart area. Everybody. And raise the standard, raise the quality of your heart. What's it like to Maro up? Raise the sincerity, the earnestness of your heart. Focus your attention on your heart. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining today's session. I am out of Pune for the next few days, so we'll not have Instagram until then. It's hard for me to manage with the internet that I have. So it'll just be on Zoom and on YouTube until the 19th. Be well, take rest, lots of love.